Hello, and thank you, listeners, for tuning in to the inaugural episode of Let's Talk About It with ITsavvy, the show where we explore emerging technologies, IT infrastructure strategies, and the organizations that implement them. I'm your host, Andrew Harmon, and today I am joined by Chief Technology Officer of ITsavvy, Milind Shah. Say hello, Milind.
Hello.
And our guest today is founder and CEO of Terzo, Brandon Card. Good afternoon, Brandon.
Good afternoon, Andrew. Good to be here.
Now, every organization out there, regardless of their size, their industry, the products or services they sell, they produce a ton of data, specifically data regarding the contracts that they sign. So today we're diving into the critical world of contract data, contract intelligence, and how contract intelligence as a service can transform the way organizations manage their service agreements. So let's dive right into the discussion. Brandon, what exactly is contract intelligence as a service, and what drove the need for this platform on the marketplace?
So, Andrew, Terzo AI is a contract and financial intelligence platform. We use AI to extract metadata from supplier contracts and show customers where all their dollars are going across each category. And we do it as a service because we use AI to extract metadata, and we do the quality assurance with our humans in the loop to ensure 99% data accuracy, so our customers don't have to do that manual work like they're doing today. And the reason why we exist is because existing platforms like SAP, Oracle, do not have any AI capabilities built in to do this data extraction on these very complex PDF documents, order forms, MSAs, statements of work, invoices. There's so much metadata that needs to be extracted. And the answer today is to have consultants manually type it into these old systems, and it doesn't work for our customers, and it doesn't work, and that's a big problem across the world in the enterprise.
So I think in terms of traditional contract management, Milind, we think of this in the realm of legal and procurement departments, but as ITsavvy has been working with organizations of all these shapes and sizes, where are we finding Terzo as a good fit outside of those departments?
Actually, that's the reason why we were evaluating solutions that did exactly what Brandon just shared. There's a lot of products that claim they do these things. And when it came down to kind of evaluating all the different products in the marketplace, we wanted a product that truly was agnostic to the type of the contract that clients typically deal with. Contract management has typically been associated very closely with IT spend organizations, and ultimately organizations are spending more money outside of the IT space as well. Their leases, their toilet paper roll bills, gym memberships, whatever the other expenses are, organizations want to have a full holistic view of every contract, regardless of being tech or not, in a single place to evaluate. And when we were looking for a solution to that problem statement from our clients, we landed up with Terzo because the big aspect that Brandon just shared, and it was kind of quick, 99.9% accuracy. That is not an easy feat. And a lot of the products that are out there that we evaluated, we were lucky if we were able to get 60 to 70% accuracy. And in this world of contract digitization, there is absolutely no room for inaccuracies of any kind, because if you're inaccurate, then the financial data cannot be trusted. And if it cannot be trusted, what are we doing here? So I think Terzo and their accuracy levels, their ability to be agnostic across all contracts is kind of brought us to the solution of partnering with Terzo.
So, Brandon, in terms of data accuracy, what are some of the wider business impacts of messy or inaccurate or bad data, so to speak?
So there's a lot of impacts, and we look at, we'll start with IT, Andrew, because the nature of ITsavvy's client base and a lot of the people that we've worked with early on too, coming from the CIO and CIO office and looking at IT spend. When you look at audit and compliance, huge area of focus, a huge area of risk for customers. When you look at contracts like Oracle and all your entitlements and your baseline, you have to understand everything you own, everything that's active on your agreements. And oftentimes customers can have 20, 30, 40 agreements with one supplier like Oracle. And to get all of that metadata for every SKU you own and every license you own, every unit cost you're paying, you could take 12 to 18 months for consultants to give you that data while you're going through an audit. and end up being out of compliance and paying huge fines, millions and millions of dollars, because you don't understand what you own, and then you certainly don't understand what you're using versus what you own. So that's a huge gap for a lot of our customers, and that's something we help with by using inventory intelligence to show customers all of their software assets and to govern all of their software assets, right? This is a huge financial impact to the business. CFO cares about this a lot. And that's the other differentiation between Terzo and the other systems out there in this space around contracts, is that we're providing that financial intelligence that Milind just mentioned. The CFO cares about that for budgeting and forecasting and trying to understand where all these dollars are going across each category. It's not very clear because systems today like Coupa and Ariba don't solve all these problems. And that's one of the gaps we have filled by sitting on top of these procurement platforms, providing that additional layer of inventory intelligence, audit and compliance, consolidation through M&A. For example, when someone acquires a large company, there's a lot of overlap in the contracts, a lot of overlap in the assets, a lot of overlap in the services. We help identify all of that duplication and redundancy to help customers optimize that spend and consolidate, not waste dollars. So that's a huge area for our customers as well by using this data.
So really, one of the big benefits here is cost savings. What are some of those key features that really drive those savings?
The most simple thing, and I talked to Milind about this in person because he's been an operator and he understands how many renewals there are across the organization. IT has a ton of renewals, as we know, but all the other departments have renewals too. Marketing and engineering and supply chain, and hundreds of renewals happening all the time across a large organization. No one's governing that in a centralized platform. That was the opportunity that I saw when I was at Microsoft, is that everyone was basically using SharePoint and OneDrive for their contract repository and putting the renewal dates in a spreadsheet. Not centralized for all the departments to understand all the renewals that are happening every month, every quarter. And we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. When you look at our customer base, that's an important thing to understand, is that our customers are governing $250 million a month of renewals sometimes. And if you don't have visibility into that, you can't optimize any of that spend. You can't renegotiate, you can't cancel, you can't turn things off. You can't get free conference passes, for example, and have cost offset. There's all these types of things you can do if you have the data and you're negotiating with the right people. Our customers on average, just from renewal governance, saving 10% of annual supplier spend by getting the right eyes on the contracts and having someone like a CTO like Milind get on the call and say, hey, I'm not moving forward unless you give me 10% off. Okay, and then suppliers usually will do that after one phone call with an executive. So we're giving customers that data every month to know where to go spend their time to try to optimize their spend. It's normally around 10%. So that's the number one area that we got started with years ago. And that's still the number one use case for the Fortune 500 right now, because there's so much waste.
And I'll add to that, Andrew, that that problem statement of the number of renewals, that number has just expanded and multiplied year over year with the sheer amount of SaaS companies with the SaaS products and the ability to just buy things on a monthly basis, 1 year commitments. We're seeing these large organizations that have these thresholds where they're not having to go through a lot of procurement approval processes for purchase under $100,000, and they're getting all these SaaS products purchased, but they're not really evaluating them year over year. And a lot of these SaaS purchases are set up for auto renewal. And we're seeing this across the board in every client, that different people in different organizations, they're not talking to each other. They're going out there and subscribing to these services. And there's a lot of duplicity that's coming into the organization, but there's not a single person that's looking at all of that spending through a single pane of glass. And I think Brandon's, solution here with Terzo is really helping the entire organization look at all of their spend through a single pane of glass, allowing them to really kind of glean out some of the duplicity that's going on in the industry.
So Milind, how has the introduction of Terzo, what impact have you seen with an organization and its relationship with its suppliers?
It's a huge impact. I mean, ITsavvy, we are part of the channel, right? We are part of the individuals that are sitting in the middle between the client and their vendors. We are supposed to be championing the right ideas, use cases, and justifications on both sides of the aisle. When we're hearing things from our clients that my renewals are going up month over month, year over year, and when we go talk to the vendors and the suppliers of those products, their pricing is going up every year, 10%, 12%. And we're trying to evaluate, is the product even the right fit anymore for this client that's been consuming the same product for year over year? Now, we as a technology reseller, a technology provider, solutions provider, we actually have the intellectual property of resources that go to these conference calls every single week, every single month. They learn about all these products, how their licensing is changing, what they're doing now, how can this benefit our client base. That is the information that we are now wrapping up within our organization and using the information that Terzo is delivering by digitizing contracts to apply the right eyes on it, to deliver the right insights that the customers can actually go out and take those insights and make a change that truly makes an impact in their renewals. The cost savings directly. I think the biggest issue that we've seen with a lot of these digitization products is they feel that by digitizing a contract, they've won the battle. Well, that's third of the problem. The first part of the problem is yes, you got to digitize the contract, but the second part of the problem is, hey, we need to now evaluate, is this renewal that's coming up, is this still worthy enough for you guys to consider for renewal? Are there other competitive products that you should probably consider? And the third aspect of it, which is really where ITsavvy adds a lot of value, is our spend optimization team. These are individuals that are looking at all of these technologies day in, day out. They're ultimately looking at these contracts and they know that, hey, we know product A is being replaced by product B, and we're seeing that across the ecosystem. Just by introducing that competition at the right time, 30, 60, 90 days before the renewals are coming up, is allowing our clients to negotiate contracts in a better way, right? It's just saving them money just by having the right competition in the mix well ahead of time of the renewal, making sure that they're coming to the vendors, letting them know that they've done their homework and they're ready to negotiate. A lot of times what we found with these solutions is, to Brandon's point, a lot of them don't know renewals are coming up. They're 2 weeks out from a renewal. They don't have enough time to do the due diligence. And now they have to make a tough decision of just signing forward and maybe reconsidering and re-architecture maybe the following year round. But ultimately, the biggest goal here, guys, is that ITsavvy, along with Terzo, with our IP around spend optimization and their ability to digitize contracts, create the relationship, allowing my team to actually look at that data, analyze it, and deliver insights, is the ultimate value we're trying to create for our clients.
And so, what exactly is the benefit of this as a service delivery model?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to the as a service is procurement organizations have been shrinking. Organizations have been shrinking these procurement teams down to one, two, three individuals. And even though they're managing 100, 200, $300 million worth of spend in the organization. Now, typically the model works as they're only focused on their big spend. So they spend the time on their larger contracts that are multi-million dollars in nature, and they do a decent job of negotiating on those. But it's the tail spend that's really hurting, which is all of those, 100,000 and below line items that are essentially being consumed by various groups of individuals within the company. The value that ITsavvy is trying to create with this platform at Terzo is there's a lot of organizational level information that also needs to be enriched into this to make good sense of who's spending what money and where and why. So ITsavvy knows our clients, our 400, 4,500 buying clients today. We know their buying habits. We understand what they like. We know their departments, who's buying what. So the enrichment of that data of just not the contract data that Terzo digitizes and organizes for us, but then we enrich that further with specific client related information, business unit information, department level information, contract owner information, business owner type of information that we know who's buying and why they're buying. And once we kind of enrich that information along with what the contract is providing, now we can actually deliver insights to their procurement organizations where they don't actually have to do any work. They're simply consuming the insight we're giving them, and they can take that insight and send one email to their renewals team or their procurement team or their vendor saying, hey, for my renewal, we will be considering these two other options, or I should be changing my licensing structure because they're coming from the insight that we have already provided, which we know will deliver cost savings for them. And that's really the ultimate goal, is that procurement people, they don't have the time to even look at the information, nor do they have the knowledge about all the changing technology that's changing every day. They can't tell the difference between a security product SKU or a technology server product SKU or so on and so forth, and if it's a duplicate or not. We have that intelligence and we're delivering that to the procurement team just so they can execute on the right savings.
Okay, so at its heart, it's more than just a contract intelligence tool. This is really a big data analytics tool. So, Brandon, can you kind of talk to us more about how Terzo extracts and organizes this data, what these data points are, what kind of documents and sources they come from?
Of course. So it is a big data and analytics tool. We like to refer to it as an enterprise AI platform because when it comes to the data types, we oftentimes start with documents, which are almost always PDFs, but occasionally they can be other type of documents. But the key to note is that it's any type of structured or non-structured document. It could be an MSA that's all legal terms. It could be invoices that's 1,200 SKUs and parts, physical parts in a supply chain. It could be purchase orders from systems like Coupa or invoices from systems like Ariba. It could be SOWs from Accenture or Deloitte, talking about 10 years of consulting services. It doesn't matter, and this data oftentimes lives in other systems, but the number one place, Andrew, that the data would live for our customers, especially in the Fortune 500, is typically cloud storage folders like SharePoint and OneDrive. That's typically where you see this data. Now, of course, some other companies will have Ariba, Coupa, sometimes in those other platforms, but either way, we point all that data to the Terzo AI drive, and that's where we start our extraction process. But because we were able to build AI with NLP, neural nets, very strong computer vision, it doesn't matter what type of document it is, we can recognize and label it and extract the information with a very high level of accuracy, and we can do it very quickly. And the human in the loop process is important because our team is trained on how to use the solution, of course, and then find areas where there's gaps and then train the models real time. And we have many different models. So when we're talking to our retail customers, we have a model. When we're talking to our aerospace customers, we have a model. When we're talking to healthcare around billing and HIPAA, we have a different model. So we're going across many verticals, and it's very flexible. It's very broad, but we can also ingest spend data too, which is very important. We can ingest spend transactions from other finance systems, the ERP platform. Maybe you have spend data in Snowflake, like some of our customers. You can push that to Terzo. We have APIs into hundreds of these applications. We can just get data in, and we have a flexible no-code platform to put the analytics around it, which is critical for our customers. It's a turnkey solution. It's fast to deploy. It's a reason why we think customers also can receive benefit, because this is a short-term deployment. This is not an ERP project for 7 years. You can get value in the short term, especially if ITsavvy is helping on the implementation and the strategy side to get the right change management in place, which is typically one of the things that we need to work on together with customers, is just change management.
So what is then ITsavvy's approach to categorizing and prioritizing these insights as they come in?
Yeah, ultimately, we've been doing this for a while, Andrew, and we've been doing this manually, right? We've had a IT spend optimization team of 4 individuals supporting roughly about 20 clients, top 20 clients, because that's all we could do with these 4 individuals. One of the biggest things that's now changed with Terzo is now that we have a platform that's analyzing and digitizing and organizing all of the contracts in the correct places, the team of four can now scale out to almost 4,000 clients. Why? Because they're essentially looking at critical information that's truly relevant for them to make quick decisions to deliver the right insights to them. They don't have to sift through 200-page documents to find out what the term lease end date was, or what was the discounting level 2 years ago versus what should it be right now in 2024. These are things that Terzo and the platform is the AI that they've built is extremely intelligent in extracting that from the document. So essentially, a 200-page document, which would take a normal human being hours to read, consume, understand, and remember. Today, Terzo is digitizing all that key information for us in minutes. My team can review that information in minutes. We can deliver insights to our clients in minutes. And it can be all done just in time, depending on how quickly the clients give us their contracts. I think the biggest point Brandon shared, all of this data sometimes is all over the place in the organization. SharePoint, OneDrives, Coupa. And so the biggest challenge here consistently remains is trying to get the clients to give us the right contract so we can optimize them.
So once all this data is in Terzo, once we've had a chance to categorize and prioritize the insights, what additional automations, workflows, triggers, what's available long term in Terzo to keep making value from this?
So there's a variety of things that we're doing long term. I like to talk more short term, especially for our customers. The next step for us is rolling out Gen AI on top of all this contract data that's structured. It's a great data set to train Gen AI on, and we partner with IBM Watson to roll that out. From a data privacy, data security perspective, IBM provides that for us, but we also have really powerful Gen AI capabilities that we're using together with IBM. We built this, and we're going to be able to get answers from very, very complex data sets across all the supplier base, not just contracts, but also spend transactions. If you integrate to systems like ServiceNow, you'll understand asset management in ServiceNow. If you're using systems like Aptio for IT finance, you'll be able to tap into budgets with Aptio across all this data. So that's exciting for us in the short term, the Gen AI piece, but there's also the automation of workflows. Our customers, the reality is they're getting an email a lot of times with a document. We want to be able to click that document, save to the Terzo AI platform, ingest that document, label that document, have all the data prepared for them in that automation flow. And then when that contract expires in 3 years, for example, we want them to be able to easily kick off a workflow to collaborate across teams to either renegotiate, cancel, optimize, track that entire contract flow in Terzo. And that's what our customers are doing today. But we want to be all the way from email to the time the payment's made, because that's the real way customers are working. And it's all manual, like Milind said, and it's heavy manual labor for our customers back and forth between all these applications. We want to create a workflow that makes it seamless to get data in and then understand all the way to the payments made, so you can track your obligations and make sure that you're not wasting any dollars. And it's all around optimization of your finances.
Yeah, and Andrew, I can probably add a little bit specifically to ITsavvy being a Terzo client first and foremost, right? Before we developed this platform to take it to market for our clients to deliver to them as a service, we consume Terzo for our own internal purposes. And one of the things we found out across $6 million worth of spend every single year in technology, that we had a significant amount of waste, mainly from renewals being missed, mainly from not having owners around contracts, not knowing who actually owns this piece of technology and should it be renewed or not. So one of the things we implemented was these workflows. So we essentially took a process that we already were following through an email chain, and we've programmed that now as a workflow within Terzo. So for every renewal that comes up 90 days ahead, it automatically alerts the contract owner that you have a renewal coming up in 90 days, and they have a time to live essentially that tells you have 5 to 10 days to go get the latest contract renewal, upload it here, and provide you a justification on should this be renewed again or not. It then kind of moves to the next stage, which is really my security team then evaluates if this new product or the existing product is it still adhering to the security standards that ITsavvy holds near and dear to our heart, to make sure that it's been validated by a security team to say, yes, this is still good for renewal. Yes, they still maintain the security standards that we allow at ITsavvy, and so on and so forth. It goes to my legal team for legal reviews for T's and C's, and then finally our CFO to validate that this is a spend that we're moving forward with. This entire structure of workflow is helping us make sure that people who are accountable for the product and people who are responsible for the spend on the product are doing their due diligence with the right amount of heads up, so that we're seeing the savings, seeing the due diligence being done, and then the vendors feel like, okay, they have done their homework, they've done their research. We're not going to sit here and try to gouge these guys. We got to make sure that we just sustain the product and the ecosystem, and they typically see 10 to 12% savings year over year just by doing that. It's been a
I can
huge
imagine
savings for
cutting out
us.
a lot of manual processes as well.
Absolutely.
I want to add one more thing, Andrew. It's important. People need to understand the way the world works today and the way the world should work tomorrow.
Sure.
The way the world works today is a bucket called IT professional services, and it's not ITsavvy services. It's the Accentures, Deloitte's, Capgemini's of the world, Tata Consulting. Massive global consulting firms have been charging millions of dollars for these professional services engagements to gather some of this data we're discussing today that is in these documents, especially supplier contract data. They charge $15 million to go through a lot of contract data and bring back an Excel spreadsheet and a PowerPoint as the output. Or you can pay them to build analytics on top of it with Tableau or Power BI, and they can do the managed services, and that's also an option, but more expensive. That's what big corporations are doing today to try to get this data. They assume that's the only way to do it is with people, consulting firms that have a practice, and they'll get us the data, and we'll pay them millions of dollars. We have an amazing opportunity to replace a lot of that manual work with AI and obviously software analytics on top of the data we extract, and doing it much faster, much cheaper, but having it scale forever with your workflows and your processes, and have it as an ongoing thing, not a point in time report.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing opportunity for us, for our customers, for the world, for everybody to stop doing things in this fashion that we've been doing them since 1980.
Spreadsheets, yes.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's been going on for 40 years, same thing. We have an opportunity to change now, and it's a beautiful thing.
Spot on.
The last topic I want to cover, obviously, data security is big on everyone's mind these days. How can users feel safe about uploading this data to the Terzo platform?
Well, here's what I always tell them. There's a reason why we built all of our AI on top of the Microsoft Azure platform. That's where a lot of our customers have their enterprise data today, like their email. There's nothing more sensitive than their email, and their SharePoint and OneDrive and Teams application we're on right now. A lot of this data is already in an Azure environment that's very secure, enterprise grade. We decided to build our AI in that similar environment through Microsoft. We're in the Azure marketplace as a solution as well, but we're SOC 2 compliant, SOC 1 compliant, and we've done everything that our customers have required and all the InfoSec questionnaires that we've answered for the last almost 4 years now. So we have this enterprise approach to building in Azure, but we also have AWS for a lot of our customers on the front end as well. We have a multi-cloud strategy so we can satisfy a lot of large enterprises that may have an existing relationship, whether it's Microsoft or AWS. We cover a large part of the market, run multi-cloud, allow them to even bring their own keys in a private cloud if they want to. So we give them the flexibility to control the data if they want to, as well as additional security and privacy flexibility for the enterprise. So that's something that we've been doing since day one, because our first customer ever was Swift Financial, the largest financial transaction processor in the world. We learned a lot about InfoSec, and then we went to a company called Home Depot, also very high requirements as being, one of the largest retailers in the world. So we've learned a lot on how to build this enterprise infrastructure and security for our customers.
Beautiful. All right, Brandon, where should our listeners go to learn more about Terzo's capabilities?
So Terzo.ai, we post a lot of stuff on our blogs all the time. There's quality content there, but we're also going to be building out our YouTube page with video content. In the future, we'll be doing a lot more video content about our solutions and the ROI of these solutions and which departments should be leveraging these solutions. So between our website and our YouTube page, that's where a lot of the content is going to live for Terzo.
Perfect. And Milind, for our listeners out there interested in connecting with ITsavvy to discuss contract intelligence as a service or really any other AI services out there, what should they expect when reaching out to our team?
Yeah, it's a very simple process. We have a pretty quick, 30-minute engagement session where we kind of collect some basic information in terms of what we need in terms of input. That's a form that we can provide to them where they can kind of provide that information ahead of time. And then we can typically engage with them, show them exactly how these products, these tools, the solution, the service offering works. Some samples around the use cases we've already developed with some of our clients. And typically we engage with Terzo on the call with our clients. So if there's any questions like the security question, because we ride the security that Terzo provides, they kind of help answer those questions. But a lot of the work, expect, a 1 hour session to just articulate the use cases, show you the product. And typically we have, a 2-week pilot that we can run with where we can show the client their own data in a pilot environment where they can actually see how this would actually work in real life. So really just a 1 hour session and a 2-week pilot is really what it takes to kind of get you going.
Yeah, that sounds easy enough. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Brandon, for sharing your insights and experience. Listeners, be sure to visit Terzo.ai to learn more about contract intelligence as a service. And if you do have any questions about this or any other AI-powered solutions, Milind's team is eager to lend their expertise. Thank you both, Brandon and Milind.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew.
Milind.
Have a great one, guys. Thanks, Brandon.
ITsavvy are your end-to-end IT infrastructure solution experts, providing peace of mind through frictionless IT solutions designed for the digital age. If you enjoyed today's discussions, please do remember to like, share, comment, and engage with us on social media to show your support. Until next time, this is Andrew Harmon for ITsavvy. Thank you so much for listening.